Fred, thanks for coming back for this third part of our discussion today. Let's talk about some general legal do's and don'ts when you're working in the NFT space. What kind of suggestions do you have for everybody?
Well, sure. First and foremost, look at the specific terms. Whether you're talking about a smart contract, whether you're talking about a conventional contract, whether you're having to follow particular terms and conditions that are set up by the entity selling the NFT or by the platform on which it's being shared. Look at the fine print, right? This is in a way no different than the advice we would give for people engaging in all kinds of transactions. The terms will be different. There is no such thing as NFT law, that is going to create special rules, at least not for the time being. At a presentation that I attended recently, somebody offered a great example using the hammers as an example and saying, look, there's no national hammer law in any country. But if you go and bash someone's head with that hammer, then there's going to be criminal law implications. And it's the same thing with an NFT, right? What are you doing with it, right? I mean, and there's all sorts of potential implications. One area in particular that you might be looking at, right? For example, is there a potential for NFTs to be used as a vehicle in the issuance of securities, right? I mean, I haven't seen that, but to the extent that it potentially could be used in that way, then securities laws are going to be implicated, right? You have to look at the use, and in the same way that regulation is going to depend on the particular uses that are being given to the NFT, the conditions under which you acquire it are going to change the rights that you have. It could be the case that I sell an NFT that includes artwork that I created, and as part of that package, I am also transferring my copyright over that. But somebody else might be doing the exact same thing, but retaining that. So really look at the specifics, and don't let the smart part of smart contracts dazzle you. The definition, there's still debate over what exactly is a smart contract, but I can tell you it doesn't mean that it's going to smartly and wisely get rid of all issues that are faced by parties when they enter into a contract. So take a look at that. And again, don't neglect the terms and conditions. Don't neglect that. I mean, because that could really, the devil is in the details, and it could be those conditions that are even less likely to or that you might, there's a higher chance that you might not read them, that might be the key to what you can do and not do. More broadly, for anyone who's involved in this space, especially from the creative side of things, register everything that you can in terms of IP. If you have a business that you're minting NFTs, even putting aside what intellectual property rights you might have over what you're creating, at least protect your business, right? You have a name, you might have a logo, you might have slogans that you use. Protect those, right? If you are someone who is minting NFTs using their own artwork, or if you're representing or working together with that original creator, again, protect that underlying work so that there's no ambiguity there, so that you don't accidentally end up giving up rights that could be of value. So in essence, a lot of the legal advice connected to NFTs is advice that is a very wide application. These are legal fundamentals, really, that you should be looking at. However, if we're looking specifically at but that doesn't mean that there are not some issues that are unique to NFTs, or let's say that might not come up as often. So one important thing is make sure that in the case specifically of trademarks, make sure that your trademark applications are, or if you have if you have registered your trademark already, make sure that you expand that coverage to include activities in this space. There's been a flurry of activity by all sorts of companies that are getting into this space, making sure that their trademarks are covering their activities in the Web3 space. And that is something that all companies entering the Web3 space should be doing. Because just to give a very simple example, let's say that I'm in the business of making t-shirts, and that's what I've been doing for a long time. But now I want to start minting NFTs and maybe connecting those to my actual clothing, or it might be going into completely new business areas, right? Maybe selling virtual t-shirts, whatever the case may be. Now, if my trademark registrations only extend to my core business of selling clothing, then I might not have sufficient protections for my NFT business. So be sure to update and refresh those registrations. I mean, I think this is a very very actionable intelligence that we can provide. Also, when entering into licensing agreements, whether that is as part of the smart contract, or whether you are providing this content and creating terms and conditions, be careful with licensing. And again, this is not an NFT specific issue. It's just that in the NFT context, it's going to manifest itself in different ways. Make sure that you avoid the pitfalls that are present when for licensors. So just a very brief summary: when you license the use of your trademark, if you're not careful, if you basically, for example, if I had a trademark and I say, Jonathan, I hereby grant you a license to do whatever you want with my trademark, that creates the risk that trademark will be considered to be Jonathan's and not mine, right? I'm oversimplifying, but that risk does exist. And a licensing agreement that's well drafted will have provisions addressing that, and there will be safeguards in place to avoid that outcome, right? Because that's usually not what a licensor wants, right? If I wanted to give away the trademark, I could do that. License usually implies that I want to retain ownership in that trademark. So in the NFT context, and again, it's an evolving area, so there are going to be challenges, there are going to be some bumps in the road, but at a minimum, we can say, watch out for those issues, right? It's going to be a challenge for us as attorneys to come up with the contractual provisions that allow our clients who are licensing their trademarks in the NFT context to retain that ownership. But it is something that we'll have to look out for, and our audience should as well.
I think it's important to note, Fred, that sometimes people ask us, why does this matter, right? And I always like to come back to that as well. Why does any of this matter? And I guess it doesn't matter unless you are interested in enforcing your rights at some point, right? The law, good business contract, good business relationships don't depend on the contracts until things start to go wrong. And that's when you need to be able to look back and say, well, what rights do I actually have? So the rights don't matter. And everyone, this happened in the cannabis space, this happens in every emerging industry, where people who were at the forefront, who were minting money and doing whatever they want to, wherever they want to, it's never an issue for them until there's an enforcement action for either from some kind of government body or from someone else who says, now I've been wronged. What are my rights? And so I think it's important to come back to that and say, we are not here to, we're not here to stop deals from happening. We're here to make sure that the deals that you thought you made are actually the deals that you're making.
Exactly. Absolutely. And that the deals that you're entering into are what you think it is. And we have to, this is why, during this conversation, right, I've made the point at least twice, right? Be careful, even if you're told that purchasing this NFT is going to give you ownership over that book or that image. Don't take that for granted, right? Because that could be the case, but that might not be the case. So exactly, like you I like the way you put it, right? Making sure that the deal that you're entering into is what you think it is.